Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The glow from her perfume still lingered in the hallway long after she'd gone. The scent was expensive, not the one I bought her last Christmas. I stood there in the quiet apartment, staring at the half-empty coffee cup she'd left behind, lipstick smudged on the rim, like a signature on a crime scene. I used to think trust was something you built. Turns out, it's something you slowly watch crumble. One unanswered call, one late-night meeting, one careless lie at a time. My name's Daniel Reeves, and I've never been the jealous type. I'm the kind of man who keeps his promises, shows up on time, and still holds the door open even when no one's watching. But marriage teaches you things, like how silence can be louder than shouting, and how love can rot quietly behind polite smiles. Lately, Lila, my wife of 5 years, had been full of those smiles. The kind that looked perfect for photos, but never reached her eyes. Her life had become a string of work trips, training seminars, and networking events. She'd talk about team building while pulling her suitcase toward the door, never realizing I'd stopped believing her months ago. It started small, perfume that wasn't hers, a hotel receipt tucked in her laptop bag, laughter over text that stopped when I walked into the room. I wasn't stupid. I just didn't want to admit what my gut already knew. Then one evening, while syncing our home Wi-Fi, I stumbled upon a folder in her share drive labeled Quarterly Training. Innocent enough, except it wasn't full of spreadsheets. It was full of photos. Some of balconies. Wine glasses. The same man in every shot. Mark Henderson, her department manager. The man she swore was just a mentor. I remember sitting there in the dim light of our living room, scrolling through those pictures while my reflection in the screen barely looked human anymore. Betrayal isn't loud. It's quiet. It seeps in like a slow poison, one click at a time. That's when the rage began to fade, replaced by something colder. Precision. I wasn't going to scream or cry or beg. No, I wanted her to see what she'd destroyed, not through words, but through consequences. For 2 weeks, I stayed calm. I let her think I was still the oblivious husband who kissed her goodbye and wished her good luck on her fake training sessions. Behind the scenes, I collected proof. Hotel receipts, timestamp photos, work logs that didn't match. Then came the message that broke whatever illusion she thought she still had. Company's training trip got extended. Don't wait up. Simple, sweet, predictable. But she didn't know that I'd already spoken to Alex Parker, a contact in her HR department. I'd shared every file, every timestamp, every lie. When I read her message, I didn't reply immediately. I waited. Let her feel safe. Let her laugh one more time with a man who'd be out of a job by morning. Then I typed slowly, deliberately, every letter a nail in the coffin of her perfect little lie. Take your time, Lila. HR's running a new training program too. You're the case study. I hit send, and then I waited. 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5. My phone lit up, 1 missed call, then 2, then 14. Her name flashed again and again on my screen, desperation replacing confidence. I let every single one go unanswered, because for the first time in months, I wasn't the one left waiting. By the time dawn crept through the blinds, the apartment felt like a museum of everything we used to be. Our framed wedding photo on the wall seemed to mock me, her smiling, leaning into me like I was her forever. Now that image was just evidence of how well she could act. I hadn't slept. I didn't need to. Revenge has a strange way of keeping you awake. At 7:46 a.m., the door slammed open. The sound of heels clicking across the hardwood floor filled the air like gunfire. Daniel. Lila's voice cracked between panic and disbelief. What did you do? I didn't answer. I was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping black coffee, the calmest man in the world. Her hair was a mess, her blouse wrinkled, and her eyes, bloodshot, terrified, darted around the room like she was looking for an escape. I got 14 missed calls from you last night, she stammered. You didn't answer. I had to take an emergency flight home. You mean the company didn't extend your training trip? I asked without looking up. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Or did HR decide the training's over? Her knees went weak. She dropped her purse, the contents spilling, lipstick, car keys, boarding pass. The boarding pass wasn't from Chicago to Denver, like she told me. It was from Miami. You spoke to HR? She whispered. I finally looked up. Oh, they spoke to me first. Apparently, they take employee misconduct seriously, especially when it involves company funds and shared hotel rooms. She froze, color draining from her face. It's not what you think. I laughed, low and hollow. No, because the pictures say otherwise. The invoices too. The texts you sent him at midnight about how much you missed him while your husband was asleep. Those don't lie either. Her voice trembled. Please, Daniel. I messed up. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. You meant every bit of it. I cut her off sharply. You planned it. You covered it up. And you thought I'd never find out because you married the safe guy, the quiet one who doesn't ask questions. Her tears started then, and she dropped to her knees. Daniel, please. I'll quit. I'll end it with him. I'll do anything, just don't. Don't what? I leaned back, eyes fixed on her. Don't destroy what's already gone. For a long moment, the only sound in the room was her quiet sobbing. I wanted to feel pity. I really did. But every tear felt like too little, too late. I stood and walked to the window, watching the city below come to life. People rushing to jobs, coffee in hand, all blissfully unaware of the wreckage playing out above them. When did it start? I asked quietly, still facing away. She hesitated. About 6 months ago. I turned. 6 months? That's half a year of lies, Lila. Half a year of pretending to love me while sneaking around with a man who signs your paycheck. She buried her face in her hands. It was supposed to be nothing. Just attention. I didn't think it would go this far. That's the thing about cheating, I said. It never feels that far until you're caught. She looked up, desperate. We can fix this. We can talk to HR together. I'll tell them it was all my fault. I shook my head slowly. They don't need your confession. They have proof. The receipts, the timestamps, the messages. You didn't just ruin our marriage, Lila. You ruined your career. Her breathing quickened. Daniel, please. I can't lose my job. Please just talk to them. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. I snapped, my voice cutting through the room. You used company money to fund your affair. You made me look like a fool. You lied straight to my face, over and over again. That's not a misunderstanding. That's betrayal. She covered her mouth, shaking. I'll do anything, she whispered. Please, don't let them fire me. I leaned closer, my tone calm, but deadly quiet. They already did. Her eyes widened. What? I nodded slowly. You should check your email. Hands trembling. She grabbed her phone from her purse and unlocked it. Her screen lit up with a dozen notifications and one subject line in bold. Immediate termination. Policy violation. Her mouth fell open. The phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor. I walked past her, emotionless. You trained them well, Lila. They handle these things fast. She grabbed my arm. Daniel, please. Don't walk away. You can't just ruin me. I turned, my voice steady. You did that yourself. I pulled away and opened the door. The hallway light spilled in, cold and bright. You know what's funny? I said, pausing before leaving. You always said I wasn't ambitious enough. That I never took initiative. I guess I just proved you wrong. Her voice cracked behind me, soft and broken. I still love you. I didn't look back. Then you should have acted like it. The door closed. For the first time in months, I breathed freely. But revenge, I learned, doesn't end when the calls stop. It lingers. A quiet satisfaction that doesn't erase the hurt, just balances the scales. Still, that morning, as I stepped out into the crisp air and the sunlight hit my face, I knew one thing for certain. She'd never lie to anyone again without remembering what honesty costs. It's strange how quiet life becomes when the chaos finally stops. The morning after Lila's breakdown, I woke up in the guest room, the same room where I'd spent most nights for months without admitting why. The sheets smelled clean, untouched by her perfume. For once, there wasn't a single unread message waiting on my phone. I brewed my coffee slowly, letting the silence fill the corners of the apartment that used to echo with her laughter. It felt like the ghost of our marriage was still sitting at the breakfast table, smiling, pretending everything was fine. I thought I'd feel triumphant. I thought watching her crumble would heal something in me. But it didn't. Revenge doesn't really give peace. It just replaces heartbreak with quiet emptiness. I'd always imagined us growing old together, building a life where Sunday mornings meant pancakes and warm music instead of lawyers and HR departments. But now, all those dreams were ashes. As I stared out the window, my mind replayed everything that led us here. The early years when she'd wait for me outside my office just to walk home together. The way she'd laugh so hard she'd snort when I tried to cook. The way she'd fall asleep with her head on my chest, whispering, "Promise we'll always stay this close." It wasn't all fake. That's what hurt the most. Somewhere along the way, love just turned into convenience, and I didn't even notice. The sound of my doorbell snapped me out of it. I opened to find Alex Parker, the HR contact who'd helped me expose everything. He looked uncomfortable, holding a folder in his hand. "Morning," he said quietly. "Didn't expect to see you so soon, but I thought you should know what happened." He handed me the folder. Inside was the official report from Lila's company, documentation of her dismissal, the investigation summary, even her signed statement. She tried to deny it at first, Alex said, rubbing the back of his neck. But the evidence was solid. She ended up admitting everything. The affair, the misuse of funds, all of it. I nodded. "Did they fire Mark too?" He gave a humorless chuckle. "Oh yeah, they escorted him out yesterday. HR doesn't play around when corporate money's involved." "Good," I muttered. But there was no satisfaction in my tone, just fatigue. Alex studied me for a second. "You okay, man?" I shrugged. "I don't know. I should be, but it doesn't feel like a win." "That's because it's not," he said gently. "You got justice, but justice isn't healing." When he left, the silence returned, heavier this time. I stared down at the papers one last time, then tore them in half. I didn't need proof anymore. I'd lived it. That evening, Lila came back one final time. Not to beg, not to fight, just to collect what was left of her. She knocked softly. When I opened the door, she looked smaller somehow. Makeup gone, hair tied back, eyes swollen from crying. In her hands, a box filled with framed photos, books, little mementos of a life we once shared. "I'll just grab the rest of my stuff and go," she said quietly. I nodded and stepped aside. She moved through the apartment like a stranger, her footsteps cautious. When she reached the living room, she stopped in front of the photo of us from our honeymoon. Her in a sundress, me grinning like the luckiest man alive. "I didn't mean to destroy this," she whispered, voice trembling. "I just got lost. I thought I needed something more. Someone who made me feel alive again." I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "And did he?" Her lips quivered. For a moment, maybe, but then I realized he wasn't the one who ever made me feel alive. "You were." I just forgot how to appreciate it. There was honesty in her tone, maybe for the first time in years. But it was too late. Honesty after betrayal is like bandaging a wound that's already scarred over. "You always wanted excitement," I said softly. "I just didn't know I'd have to lose everything for you to realize what stability meant." She wiped her eyes. "I don't expect forgiveness." "Good," I said quietly, "because I don't have any left to give." We stood there for a long moment. Two people who once promised forever, but now couldn't even share the same air without choking on memories. Finally, she whispered, "You deserve someone better, Daniel. Someone who sees what you give." "I already had her once," I replied, but she threw it away. She placed a photo frame in a box and walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned and said, "For what it's worth, I really did love you." I forced a faint smile. "Then you should have protected that love instead of testing it." When the door closed behind her, I didn't cry. I just sat on the floor, the hum of the city outside blending with the sound of my heartbeat. That night, I deleted every message thread, every photo, every trace of her number from my phone. Not out of anger, but because I needed space to breathe again. In the days that followed, life slowly began to feel normal. I went back to work, spent evenings at the gym, started volunteering at a local shelter. Anything to keep my mind from circling back to her. People asked if I was okay, and I'd just say, "Yeah, better now." But the truth was simpler. I wasn't better. I was becoming better. There's a difference. And as I sat one evening on the balcony, watching the sunset paint the city gold, I realized something. Revenge might balance the scales, but forgiveness, even silent, personal forgiveness, is what lets you walk away from the wreckage. I wasn't ready to forgive her yet, but I was ready to stop letting her live rent-free in my head. Maybe that was my real revenge, learning to live again without letting her destroy what was left of me. 3 months passed before I realized I hadn't thought about Lila in days. Not her voice, not her excuses, not even the way she used to hum in the kitchen while pretending everything was fine. Life had slowed down in the best way. The nights were quieter now. No more anxious waiting for texts that never came. No more checking the time wondering if she was safe or lying again. The stillness that once felt suffocating had turned into peace. I'd moved into a smaller apartment downtown. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. The walls didn't echo with memories of betrayal. The kitchen smelled like fresh paint instead of her perfume. And every corner of that place reminded me of one simple truth. I'd survived something that once felt impossible. On a Saturday morning, I met Alex for coffee. He slid into the booth with a grin. "You look human again," he said, half joking. "Yes, I am," I replied with a small smile. "You know," he said, stirring his drink, "when you first told me what she did, I thought you'd end up bitter. But you're handling this better than most people would." I took a sip of my coffee, watching the steam curl in the sunlight. I wanted to be bitter at first. I thought revenge would fix me. But after she was gone, I realized revenge doesn't build anything. It just burns the bridge you've already crossed. Alex nodded slowly. "So what now?" "I start over," I said. "Not to prove anything, just to live." He smiled. "That's a good answer." After he left, I walked through the park, same one where Lila and I had once spent Sunday afternoons. I expected the memories to sting, but instead, they felt distant, like watching a movie I'd seen too many times to care about the ending. Near the fountain, I saw a woman sitting on a bench, sketching. She was maybe early 30s, hair tied up loosely, a faint smudge of charcoal on her cheek. She glanced up and smiled politely as I passed. Something about that smile, honest, unforced, felt grounding. "Nice work," I said, nodding toward her sketchbook. "Thanks," she replied, eyes lighting up. "I paint sometimes too. It's my therapy." I chuckled. "Mine's black coffee and bad humor." She laughed softly. "Whatever works." We talked for a few minutes. Nothing deep, nothing flirty. Just two strangers sharing the same sunlight, the same moment. But when I walked away, I caught myself smiling for real. Not the forced kind I'd worn for years. A genuine one. That's when I realized healing doesn't come with a big moment or an apology. It happens quietly, gradually, when you stop waiting for the person who hurt you to understand, and instead start understanding yourself. That night, as I sat on my balcony again, city lights stretching in every direction, I thought back to the man I used to be, trusting, hopeful, blind, and then to the man I'd become, cautious, wiser, stronger. I didn't hate Lila anymore. I didn't wish her pain. I just hoped she learned something from what she lost. Because despite everything, part of me still believed that people could change, maybe not for you, but for themselves. I leaned back in my chair, the night breeze brushing my face, and whispered to myself, "You did it. You took your life back." For the first time in years, there was no bitterness left in my chest, just calm. And in that quiet, I found a real victory. Not in revenge, not in her downfall, but in the simple, unshakable peace of knowing that I'd finally let her go.